On this episode, we're going to be taking a look at and doing a tasting review of the new G4 6-year Extra Anejo right here on the Tequila Hombre. Coming up next. Welcome to this episode of the Tequila Hombre, where today we're going to be taking a look at and doing a tasting review of a brand new expression from one of my favorite brands, and that's G4. So today we're going to be looking at the G4 6-year Extra Anejo. All right, so let's talk a little bit about G4. G4 is an amazing brand made by a legend in the tequila world. His name is Felipe Camarena, and Felipe does magic out of his distillery, which is NOM 1579, known as El Pandillo. El Pandillo is located just outside of Aranas in Jesus de Maria, Mexico, which is the Los Altos region of Jalisco. Now, G4 produces a Blanco, a Reposado, and an Anejo, and then they also have a regular Extra Anejo, which is aged for 36 months, and then they've done some special releases of some Extra Anejos as well. Some of the special releases, they had a 55-month Extra Anejo, which was very good. They had a 5-year Extra Anejo, which I personally thought was better than the 55-month, and now they've released a 6-year Extra Anejo. All right, so let's talk about how this tequila is produced. G4 in general is produced the right way, traditionally. He does it the way his grandfather did it many, many years ago, which is no diffusers, no additives, okay? So he grows his own agave on his own estate, and he's great at growing agave. The quality of the agave that they grow is amazing. So it's all loaded with all the starches you need to create a beautiful tasting tequila. So when they harvest the agave that they need, they then cook it in a brick oven, and which is called a brick horno. After it is done converting the starches to sugars, they then use a taona to extract the sugars from the agave fibers. Now with their taona, it's different than other taona wheels in that they do not use a volcanic rock as the taona wheel. Instead, they use a recycled steam roller wheel made from stainless steel. So this will not impart any flavors to the tequila as it's being crushed like a volcanic rock wheel, which has a tendency of imparting some mineral notes to the tequila. So after they're done extracting the sugars, they then send it off to be fermented in stainless steel tanks. After it is done fermenting, then they distill it twice in copper pots stills. After it is done with distillation, they then place it in the barrels at still strength and age it for 6 years. Now, the barrels that they use for this particular expression, well, all their expressions, they use George Dickel barrels, but they use typically ones that are used for long-term George Dickel bourbons. So it will impart some Dickel flavors in it from the bourbon that's left residual in the barrel. But they use this for the 6-year. It is also a George Dickel barrel. So really the only difference that you'll see from the 5-year, the 55-month, and the 6-year is the amount of time it spends in the barrel, as well as each barrel itself has a different flavor profile. So each barrels themselves will create a different flavor profile for those expressions. So this won't taste anything like the 5-year. It won't taste anything like the 55-month, but instead will be its own creation in its own flavor profile. So let's not waste any more time. Let's get into the tasting portion and see what the flavor profile is like. All right, so let's look at how this arrives. Okay, it comes in this really nice wooden box that's all got the G4 logo embossed in it, burnt into it like they do with wood. And it says Cuarta Generaciones, which is what G4 stands for. Tequila 100% agave. And then it says Extra Anejo 6 años. And then it says Reserva Especial de Felipe Camarena. So this is a special reserve from Felipe Camarena. And it has their El Pandillo logo on it. and it says bottle 452 out of 1,000 on the wooden box. So then you open up the wooden box. Let's open it up. Try not to drop the bottle when we do it. So it's got a nice little brass clasps on the bottle, on the box. And you open it up. There's a beautiful presentation inside. A nice plate in Spanish that talks about how special this batch is. And then the bottle. So pull the bottle out of the box. The labeling on this is different than their typical labels in that it's got a metallic gold kind of look to it. And it looks high class, which this tequila I'm sure is. And front and back label, it's beautiful. It has Reserva Especial on it. That's 43% alcohol, volume 86 proof. Now, the reason why is it's not because they diluted it. It's because right now the cellar in which Felipe ages his tequila, it's very humid. It's very moist down there. They have a lot of the groundwater from their spring during the rainy season flows up to the surface of the water from under there. And so there's always like water in there. So it's very humid. And normally when there's a humid situation in the barrel room, the Angels don't take the water out and cause the proof to go up. Instead, it takes the alcohol out and causes the proof to go down. So he actually loses proof instead of water, where normally if it's a drier aging room, they'll lose water and the proof of the barrel will actually go up while it's aging. So he's kind of in a different scenario, but they're building a brand new barrel room that'll take care of this issue for them. And so they won't be using downstairs below the distillery very much anymore. They'll be using this beautiful barrel room that they're building. And I saw the plans for it. It looks great. So when I was in Mexico on my last trip, I was sitting across from Felipe at his dinner table, talking to him, and he mentioned that they were coming out with this. And he said to me, he said, Mark, you know, this is one of the most complex and beautiful extrañeros I ever made. And I'm really excited for you guys to get it and taste it and see what you think. So I'm really excited to taste this and see, because normally when he says something like that to me, like he said the same kind of thing with Peralta, it turns out to be true. So I trust Felipe. He's a good friend of mine. He would never steer me wrong. So let's get into tasting this and see what we get. All right, so let's pour some into the glass. Now, also as a side note, only 1,000 bottles of this were made, and only 500 were imported into the U.S., so it's extremely allocated, which means the stores that sell the most G4 are the ones that get the most of the 6-year extrañejo. So it's going to be really hard to find, because that the prices have gotten kind of crazy on them. The suggested retail price on this is $4.99.99. Ferment and Still had it for $5.99.99, and it's all sold out. It went to all the members from my group that bought up, but it's going as high as $14.99 now, which I think is kind of crazy. But let's taste it and see, and I'll kind of give you an idea of what I think a good price would be. I paid $5.99 for it, and I'm happy with that. I'm okay. But let's see on the tasting how things come and whether I think it's worth it. All right, so looking at this in the glass. Now, I gotta say, I'm a big fan of G4. I've never had anything from G4 that I didn't like. Their stuff always comes out really, really good. So looking at this in the glass, it coats the glass beautifully. You can see the legs and tiers coming down. So it's kind of a nice viscosity to it. It's gonna be very viscous. Gonna coat the mouth nicely. Looking at the tequila itself, it is crystal clear, but a nice kind of like a light straw color to it. Not something you'd normally expect from a 6-year extrañejo. Normally, they're a lot darker than this, but it's because of the barrels that they use. Most of the char's gone, and they don't re-char them. So this is all beautiful George Dickel bourbon and whatever was left in the barrels, the wood here mixed into this tequila. All right, so let's see what we get on the nose on this. smells good. So you still get really nice cooked agave up front, which is great. The cinnamon and baking spices. But you also pick up some really nice. I'm definitely picking up like cherry notes. Like I'm getting cherry. I'm getting vanilla. Definitely some caramel. Even some like honey notes coming through, like a sweet honey. Citrus. I'm definitely picking up some citrus, but more of along the lines of like a sweeter orange, like a Cara orange kind of note to it. And it's got some nice ripe fruit flavors, almost like a pear kind of sweetness in there as well. But definitely the vanilla and the caramel are coming through on it. And it's beautiful cherry note. So let's see what we get on the flavor profile. I'm all excited now. First, we're going to get my palate acclimated to 40% alcohol. I haven't had any tequila yet today, so that's going to be first before we dive into the actual picking up notes. You do this by rinsing tequila around your gums and your mouth, and then give yourself some time. You'll feel like the little bit of the burn at first. That's just your gums telling you, alcohol's coming. And then once that subsides, then you're good to go for your second sip, and you won't get the burn and stuff anymore in your mouth and throat. So never judge on the first sip on whether something's hot. Second sip, if you're still getting a really rough burn and stuff, then you know it's more hot, and it's not just your mouth acclimating to 40% alcohol that's being put into it. All right, so here we go. Wow. Coats the mouth beautifully. Definitely cinnamon and baking spices up front. Definitely a nice cherry note that comes through right away. Vanilla. Almost like a prune kind of note that comes through as well. Caramel on there, like a creamy caramel that just coats the tongue very beautifully, and just sits there on the tongue like a craft caramel, just kind of placed on your tongue and letting it melt. You get this really buttery, creamy caramel note that just kind of stays on your tongue on the finish. It's beautiful. This is really nice. This is a really nice extra anejo. Really nice. Yeah, this is beautiful. I like this better than the 5-year. Definitely cooked agave, cherry, prune, like a prune note. Vanilla, and then this creamy caramel on the finish that just sits there. You definitely pick up a little bit of Dickel in there too, the Dickel bourbon. And there's a little bit of heat from the bourbon as well. But this is a beautiful extra anejo. It's beautiful. I love it. It's great. I think one of my favorite G4 extra anejos to date. So am I happy I spent $599 on this? Absolutely. Yeah. Matter of fact, I bought 2 bottles. I had a feeling I was going to like it. So would I recommend buying it $599 price? Absolutely. Yes. Would I recommend paying $899 for it? No. I mean, I would say that the max I'd probably go is $599.99. That's probably the max. But it's a beautiful extra anejo. A beautiful presentation. Well done, Felipe. I love it. I'm going to be drinking it. I'll definitely enjoy this with a good stogie as well. So I'm going to do a stogie pairing video with this because I know some really good cigars that this will go with just beautifully. Well, there you go. If you like the information I share with you, please click the thumbs up button. Give me a like for the information I shared. if you have tried this extra añejo and agree with my tasting notes, comment below, let me know. If you don't agree, comment below, let me know. If you're new to the channel, welcome to the Tequila Hombre channel. Don't forget to click that subscribe button right there and the notification bell next to it, so you'll get notified every time I post a video or live stream. And then we're going to talk a little bit more about this extra añejo on the Tequila Hombre, the Hombre Cave channel. So make sure you go and subscribe to the Hombre Cave. I'm going to be giving away some sample bottles of this. So if you want to try it and it's outside of your budget, well, make sure you attend the live streams on the Hombre Cave, and you could win a sample bottle of this to try and see for yourself what it's all about. Well, there you go. G4 6-year extra añejo. It's a win. I would rate this one. I'm going to give it a 5 agave for a beautiful extra añejo. I really enjoyed it. I think it's definitely one of the top extra añejos on the market right now. If you're an extra añejo fan, this is a must-have for your collection. All right, guys, like I always say, life is too short to drink bad tequila. So make sure you follow what I say as my recommendations, and you'll be in great shape. Oh, and I do not receive any payment for any of these reviews. This is strictly 100% an honest review, in my opinion. Salud. Bye, guys.